Hey everybody, my name is Brad. I like to help people start or scale medical practices, and I myself own a multi-million-dollar private practice in primary care. And today, let's talk about the top 10 patient complaints that are actually operation problems. Listen, it's rarely the doctor. It is mostly an operations issue. It's a standard operating procedure issue. And I'm going to help you to go through these 10 problems so that you can really grow the hell out of your practice and stop hearing the same freaking complaints over and over again. Because at the end of the day, just like Jeff Bezos, you can never go wrong by listening to your customers or your employees. All right, number one, the most common one that I hear from you guys, or sometimes even patients, I feel rushed. The doctor didn't listen to me. Have you guys ever heard this complaint before? I mean, it sounds like very clinical, right? Like, oh, the doc maybe didn't take them, didn't like make them feel heard or these kind of things. But look, I feel like operations usually creates the issue. All right. How does it usually cause it? Look, there's schedule compressions. Like maybe the doc feels way too compressed. Like, can you really thoroughly evaluate someone's problems in a 15-minute visit where God knows they're going to show up 5 to 7 minutes late? Maybe you're going to get 5 minutes face-to-face with that individual. That's an operations issue. If you have a highly complex panel, booking 15-minute follow-ups and trying to go through like 7 problems, it ain't happening. The physician or the PA or NP is going to leave pissed off. The patient's going to leave pissed off. You as a business owner need to figure out, how can I improve this? Maybe I need to go DPC. Maybe I need to set clear boundaries. We can only talk about 1 or 2 things today. I don't love that because people don't love feeling limited whenever they come in. Maybe you need a premium program of like a concierge level program on top of it. Maybe you are booking way too many appointments during the day because maybe you're accepting too many low payers that are clogging up your schedule and you need to get rid of that low pay. The point I'm trying to make is that you see how this could be an operations problem. Even the best physician in the world is going to struggle to go through like 5, 7, hell, even 3 problems in 5 minutes. It's going to feel rushed. I mean, there are clinics in town that get a horrible reputation. I mean, absolute atrocious. And they are our best referral base because they're so pissed off at them they come to us. I don't believe that the majority of those clinicians there are bad doctors. I think they're just set up to fail because they have 10 to 15-minute appointment times. I like to keep a pulse on this. If patients are constantly complaining about this, I need to fix the problem. Well, first, identify the problem, then fix it. The next one that goes along with this is your portal's confusing. I can't find anything. Again, operations problem. Like patients would be so pissed off about this and complain that we don't have an app. You know, once I started printing out on an after visit summary, hey, this is how you can log into the portal. This is how you can text us. This is how you can do X, Y, and Z. Basically the flow. Need a medication refill? Here you go. All of these complaints completely stopped. Now, completely is a bit egregious, right? There's always a one-off. Like I used to have this mentor that say, man, you give some people $100 bill for free. There's going to be 1 or 2 people that just are pissed off they didn't get it in all 20s instead of a $100 bill. Yeah, there's those people you can never make happy. They're always going to complain. Ignore those. But the majority of other people are going to be totally fine as long as you tell them this is the workflow. The next one that you're going to definitely hear is the billing makes no sense. I got a surprise charge. Why did you bill me for an annual plus a problem? I didn't know I was going to have this problem. What's the operation cause here? There's no upfront financial communication. There's no coding expectations. You're not explaining it to the patient. I used to get into it like, oh my God, yeah, you know, maybe you're going to owe $130, blah, blah, blah. No, screw that. I'm not going through that conversation in the 20 minutes that I have with the patient. Instead, a week before their appointment for the annual, they get a text and an email what is and is not an annual. The day before, same text and email. The day of, they get a sign-in form that clearly says, we tell them, don't rush through that one. This says what an annual is and is not. When they get in the room, we get them a laminated copy, what is and is not an annual physical. And then patients will sometimes be like, well, can I talk about my diabetes during this visit? And then I've trained all of my clinicians to be like, yeah, we can talk about it if you'd like. However, you're going to be owed whatever your copay is if you're cool with that. I don't know what your copay is, but I'm fine talking about it if you are. And you know what? 99% of the time, they're like, oh, that's it? Yeah, let's talk about it. I don't want to come back for a second visit. Let's knock it out today. Again, there are going to be some people that complain, but it took the complaints from literally like probably 90% of the people bitching and complaining about this to like maybe 2%. Look, medicine is a very broken system. I don't control it enough to change United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, or Medicare, of course, right? But what I can change is I can change my operations, my flow of what are you going to expect as your visit. Hell, even when I book something at like the Hilton, here's what to expect when you can arrive. This is the check-in. These are the extra fees. This is the resort fee. This is the X, Y, and Z of like, when can you go get s'mores at night? If they have a fire pit or whatever, you know, like they give me the expectations. You need to be giving your patients expectations. Same thing with these expectations. The next one, my results were delayed. Nobody told me. No one ever got back to me. I will tell you what, I've heard some very atrocious things. There's a GI group here in town. I'm not going to say names, but There are definitely some patients that have come to me saying, hey, I just got a portal message that I had eosinophilic esophagitis. And I kid you not, one of my patients showed me the freaking portal message that was like, my next available follow-up is 4 months in the future to talk about this new diagnosis of EOE, or you can just go to your primary care and talk about that. Get the hell out of here. That is an operations problem, and I'm so pissed off at that group for doing that. Again, is it the doc? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on that. But here we have an operations problem. The patient's pissed off because they're like, hey, I got a new diagnosis of EOE. What does this mean and how can I treat it? Their doc, totally unresponsive, basically blew them off. Oh yeah, the best I could help you is 4 months in the future. Or go talk to your primary care that didn't make this diagnosis and is not an expert in this. Patient knows that. They came in frustrated. So how could I help them out? Look, man, I got another GI doc. I'm going to text him personally. I'm going to help you out. This is the next flow. Here, print it out. Call him. He can help you out. Until then, I'm going to get you started on this. This is how we're going to move forward. And the same thing, like when I do an annual physical on the printout, I tell them, hey, if you got standard stuff, this is the usual turnaround time. If you got more complex labs, it could be X turnaround time. This is what to expect. If you don't get it, here's the next steps forward. How to email or text in. All right, let's keep it going. The next one, which seems like a staff issue. However, don't always jump to blaming your staff. The front desk, my MA, that doctor was rude. Someone who works for you is going to get a complaint. Oh, they're just a butthole or something like that. No, maybe they're not. Maybe. Let's always give them the benefit of the doubt. Just like one of my mentors used to say, never assume the worst of your patients until they show you the worst. That is not a good way to go forward. And I tend to think of the same about my staff. I will give you the benefit of the doubt and back your butt up until you give me evidence to prove otherwise. So if I hear my front desk is rude, first thing I do is, okay, if we have time, can you tell me more about like the interaction on what happened? Or if I don't have the time, I'll say, look, I really want to zone in on that. Thank you so much for the feedback. I acknowledge it. Thank you so much for the feedback. This is my manager's personal extension. This is her personal email that you could go directly to her. I want you to tell us more about that. I want to know how you feel that we didn't live up to this amazing expectation of treating people like we treat our own family. Then on the back end, what do I look into? Maybe the front desk has an unclear script. Maybe they're pissed off because, for example, when I heard this feedback last, the patient was all pissed off about it. They had a plan. There's a big group here in town called Baylor Scott & White. There are a couple of their plans where you can only go to Baylor Scott & White as a primary care doc. That's it. They will not pay for the visit with me because I'm not owned by Baylor Scott & White. We are contracted with them, but I'm not in network with those super low plans that you can only go to their doctors at Baylor Scott & White. So what was my script? The script is that we weren't fully explaining this to the patients ahead of time that had Baylor Scott & White. That's an operations problem. 1. 2 is that whenever the patients come in, now we're sitting there on the phone trying to figure out if we're in network, not in network with it. That's a problem. They're like, what? I thought you guys were in network with it. Now you guys are telling me you're not in network with some of them. So how do we solve it? We don't get it right 100% of the time, but I have these virtual assistants that will go through. And if they see a patient who is booked a Baylor Scott & White plan, we try to text them ahead of time saying, hey, please send us a picture of your card so we can take care of it behind the scenes. And with the explanation, there are some very rare plans that we are not in network with because they will only allow you to see Baylor Scott & White. And we would love to check that so we don't waste your time. Again, kindness, validation, all those things going forward for them. But here, if you just took it at face value, your front desk was rude. Yeah, it appears rude, but they're not a butthole. Our front desk is fantastic. They're trying to help you out. But the perceived thing from the patient was that our office was rude. Our office protocol was not living up to the standards that I wanted to live it to. So we teach de-escalation tips, reduce interruptions, right? Manager escalation rules. Here, this is how you do it. I even teach it to all the clinicians that work for me. How do you escalate this? Because if anyone ever tells you that something went wrong in our practice or didn't live up to your expectations, I tell them, make sure you validate it. Thank you so much. We want to hear more about that. Email this manager right now. All right, the next one, my appointment got canceled, rescheduled last minute. This happened to me. I got bad reviews. It's inevitable when it's just you. As you grow, this is an operation problem. You need backups. And it's just hard when there's no backup. The best thing that I did at the very beginning, it wasn't scalable, but what I did is I'd block off special time for tomorrow. And I'd be like, look, I can't see you then, but I got tomorrow 8 a.m. If you want to come in, I basically bend over backwards to help them out. Along with that, waiting it forever in the lobby exam rooms, usually this is your schedule being too tight. There's no buffers, rooming bottlenecks, something in the workflow from in to out is a problem. I will tell you when I audit a lot of you guys, like the workflow and why it's taking forever, a lot of times it's those Medicare annual wellness visits where they got to fill out all these freaking forms. No, they can go sit out there after the visit, get them out of the room, turn it over, tell them to go to the car and fill it out. Think about getting people in and getting them out. Because if they're taking up a room, that's someone that you can't care for that's just going to be sitting in the freaking exam room or, sitting in the lobby just pissed off. Another complaint, no one ever called me back. I feel like I'm being ignored. Oh, wow. This is a big operations issues. Maybe there's no ownership of messaging. There's maybe no inbox triage. The task is not assigned. This one is a huge trying to unravel the big nest of almost like, remember that Chevy Chase one where he gives that like his kid that huge ball of lights at Christmas time? And he's like, here you go, Rusty. Yeah, this one is a huge ball to unravel because it could be anything. It could be that you're way over scheduling, you're way understaffed, the expectations on like maybe they sent an email with like 50 things in it, like 5, long paragraphs that they wanted explained. No, you need a dot phrase. Hi, we hear you. This isn't appropriate for a message. Like come book a follow-up. This one, you need to work your business operations and get to the bottom of what is exactly the problem when someone is saying that no one ever called me back. And the last one is I can never get through on the phone. Look, give yourself some grace. The phones are always an issue. At this point, we get over 1,000 phone calls a day, and a significant portion of them come around, right when we open, within an hour of opening, within an hour of lunchtime, and within an hour of close. Look, it's hard. When we get 400 phone calls between 8 and 9 a.m., it's hard to manage all of that. And you do the best you absolutely can. You put them in a call queue, you go to voicemail. You need to really work on your standard operating procedures for, medication refills, getting people off the phone, teaching your MAs that they can't talk for 30 minutes to some lonely old person who just wants to talk and have a friend. No, we're not there to be their friend. We can't talk to them. We're not a pen pal. We got people to help, and other people may have urgencies or emergencies that we need to get to. Get a call queue, callback options. Make sure you're returning all those missed calls in less than an hour. You need to either then hire on more virtual assistants. Like this is a problem that has usually numerous solutions, and it is a problem that you're always going to tackle. This is why I love online scheduling. This is why I love online portals. Because in my experience, when someone calls in, they want an answer basically immediately. When they text in, they want an answer usually within minutes because we use an online like secure texting platform. But think about it. When you text one of your buddies, you usually want a reply within minutes, maybe an hour. However, if you send a message through the portal, a lot of people equate that to like an email. It usually in their mind is going to be like, yeah, maybe 1 to 3 business days, I'll hear back. You have a lot more leeway, whereas they're not calling you 20 times in a row trying to get an answer. So you need to try to train your patients and treat them to say, no, this is how you're going to do it going forward. All right, guys, those are the 10 things that I wanted to talk about today in how you can deal with those 10 patient complaints. And those are probably operation problems, where at face value, it may seem like that front desk being rude is a person problem, that front desk being rude, but no. Most of the time, in my experience, there are mostly good people out there. Yeah, there's some bad apples, but they want to do great work. And it's usually an operations problem. Give your staff the benefit of the doubt until they prove you otherwise. Think like a business owner. Get to the bottom root cause of what the hell's going on, just like as a physician, and grow the hell out of your practice. Thank you guys so much for following along. I'll see you guys on the next one.